Welcome to this explainer. If you're a focused learner ready to decode some truly complex narratives, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're dissecting a legendary, literal ticking clock mystery, angels and demons. It is the absolute ultimate battle of science versus spirit, and it's dialed up to an 11. You see, this isn't just your standard murder mystery. No, it's a rapid-fire collision of ancient, deeply rooted religion and bleeding-edge physics. We're going to unpack exactly how this high-stakes narrative brilliantly weaves real-world locations, historical art, and massive philosophical dilemmas into one deadly puzzle. So get ready, because we are diving straight into the chaos. So what happens when the ultimate scientific achievement becomes a ticking time bomb right beneath the heart of the Catholic Church? It's a genuinely chilling premise, isn't it? We're looking at a scenario where every single second counts, and the stakes? They could not possibly be higher. I mean, imagine a 2,000-year-old institution, completely entrenched in faith and tradition, suddenly facing total annihilation by a weapon born entirely out of pure, unadulterated science. It's this massive clash of two seemingly opposing worlds, and the fallout is poised to be catastrophic. Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. Murder at CERN. Our story actually kicks off not in the ancient cobblestone streets of Rome, but in the sterile, hyper-modern corridors of Switzerland at CERN, the absolute frontier of particle physics. And here is where a really gruesome discovery sets the whole thing in motion. A world-renowned physicist, Leonardo Vetra, is found brutally murdered. His neck is broken, one of his eyes has been surgically removed, and, get this, seared into his flesh is an Illuminati ambigram. Basically, this is a perfectly symmetrical word designed to read the exact same way even if you flip it entirely upside down. It's a flawless, terrifying brand. Naturally, this impossible marking drags Harvard symbologist Robert Langdon right into the fray. Now, Langdon is a man of history, a man of logic, who firmly believes the Illuminati are just a long-dead myth. But, well, this perfectly symmetrical burn on Vetra's chest, it proves him dead wrong in a matter of seconds. And this sets up this massive collision of two opposing worlds that really grounds the entire narrative. On one side, you have CERN, the literal pinnacle of modern science, logic, and discovery. I mean, it's the birthplace of the World Wide Web. But on the exact opposite side, you have Vatican City, the ancient, incense-filled heart of the Catholic Church, deeply rooted in centuries of rigid tradition and currently locked down in a highly secretive papal conclave. It's the ultimate ideological showdown, right? Science versus spirit. And these two realms are about to violently intersect in the worst way imaginable. Which brings us to part 2, the ticking antimatter bomb. So the bridge between these two vastly different worlds is this terrifying, closely guarded secret. The murdered physicist's daughter, Vittoria Vetra, steps in and reveals exactly what her father had been working on. They had successfully created antimatter. Yep, the most volatile substance on Earth. When antimatter comes into contact with regular matter, they completely annihilate each other in this massive burst of pure energy. And the terrifying part? A stolen quartergram, literally just a minuscule drop of this glowing blue liquid, is currently planted deep beneath the Vatican, and it packs enough concentrated destructive power to level the entire city. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is the catch. The canister holding this highly volatile substance relies on a super strict 24-hour battery life. If that battery dies, the magnetic field holding the antimatter in a suspended vacuum fails. And the very moment that antimatter touches the sides of the container, the resulting explosion will obliterate Vatican City. Boom, done. It creates a literal, inescapable ticking clock to a midnight detonation. Every passing minute ratchets up the tension, turning what could be a purely philosophical debate into a frantic, high-octane race for survival. And guys, the timing is catastrophically bad. The Pope has recently died. Right at this moment, 165 cardinals are completely isolated from the rest of the world, locked inside the Sistine Chapel for a conclave to elect a successor. No phones, zero outside contact. But the four preferiti, the absolute favorites to actually become the next Pope, have vanished. They've been kidnapped, right out from under the noses of the Swiss Guard. Amidst all this unbelievable chaos, a voice claiming to represent the Illuminati calls in with a chilling vow. They declare that science is finally coming to claim its long-awaited revenge on religion, and they plan to take down the absolute top tiers of the church to do it. That leads us into part 3, the path of illumination. To stop this massive detonation and find the missing cardinals, Langdon has to step up and decipher a secret, ancient map hidden in plain sight all across the city of Rome. He essentially has to follow what is known as the Path of Illumination, decoding obscure texts from Galileo and intricate sculptures by Bernini. The Illuminati promises to execute the kidnapped cardinals at 4 specific altars of science, following the classical elements. First, Earth. This is represented by Cardinal Ebner, who is found in the Chigi Chapel, suffocated with soil. Next is air, which is Cardinal Lamasse, left right in the middle of St. Peter's Square with his lungs punctured. Then fire brings us to Cardinal Guidera, who is literally roasted alive at Santa Maria della Vittoria. And finally, water. Cardinal Baggia is chained to a grate and drowned in the Fountain of the Four Rivers. It is brutal. And each victim is marked with a flawless, horrifying ambergram of their specific element. It becomes this agonizing hourly schedule. 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., every hour on the hour, a very public, gruesome execution is carried out. Langdon is desperately racing across Rome, frantically piecing together Renaissance art clues while actively fighting off a highly lethal assassin. And the entire time, the world's media has caught wind of the crisis. Cameras are rolling, broadcasting the panic and these ancient rituals of murder live to billions of people. The psychological warfare here, it's honestly just as intense as the physical threat. Let's move to and see how this builds in part 4, A False Miracle. So, Langdon finally manages to track the killer to the Illuminati's ancient lair at Castel Sant'Angelo. He defeats the assassin, he saves Vittoria, but the clock hits 0. All seems entirely lost until this apparent miracle occurs. The young Camerlegno Carlo Ventresca, who is essentially the acting head of the Vatican during the conclave, suddenly claims to have a divine vision. He heroically rushes deep into the necropolis beneath the Vatican, locates the hidden antimatter, with literally minutes to spare, and flies it away in a helicopter. He parachutes out just as the canister detonates into this massive, blinding explosion, completely harmlessly in the night sky. To the stunned, weeping crowds down below, he has single-handedly saved the church. It's the ultimate divine PR stunt, instantly cementing his status as a living miracle worker. But there's a major twist. Part 5, The Mastermind Revealed. A hidden video recorded by CERN director Maximilian Kohler just moments before he died exposes this entire miracle as a complete and total lie. There was no Illuminati. That secret society never actually returned. The Camerlegno himself was the mastermind all along. He orchestrated the entire timeline from the inside. He hired the assassin. He staged the kidnappings of the cardinals. And most shockingly of all, he murdered the Pope. He engineered this entire global crisis from scratch, playing the role of the ultimate villain just so he could ultimately cast himself as the savior. And this brilliantly illustrates his terrifying rationale. It was simple, really. He felt the church had become apathetic and weak. It desperately needed a grand, undeniable miracle to restore faith. And he truly believed the absolute best way to unite the masses was through profound shared fear. The Camerlenio deeply believed that modern science was aggressively destroying religion. So, what does he do? He gives the world a horrifying science-wielding enemy, only to swoop in as the manufactured, divinely inspired champion. It's a classic, frankly terrifying strategy of manipulation. You create the poison so you can sell the cure. So, the crucial point is the final, devastating twist. Why did the Camerlegno murder the Pope? Well, because he discovered the Holy Father had apparently broken his sacred vow of celibacy to father a child, and he viewed the Pope as a traitor to God. But the irony here is staggering. That child was conceived entirely through the science of artificial insemination. The Pope's vow was actually never broken in the traditional sense. And that child? It was the Camerlegno himself. Driven completely mad by the unbearable weight of his sins and the horrific realization of his own patricide, the Camerlegno commits suicide by setting himself on fire right there on the Vatican balcony. I mean, it is a tragedy of true Shakespearean proportions. Which brings us to our conclusion, Part 6, Science, Spirit, and Truth. To preserve the people's faith, the Church makes a really heavy decision. They hide the reality of the Camerlegno's massive deception. A new pope is elected, and the world just moves forward, completely unaware of the absolute betrayal that unfolded in the shadows. But this whole ordeal leaves Langdon, and honestly all of us, with a really profound question. Are science and religion truly enemies, or are they actually just two sides of the exact same human pursuit? Because both of them, in their own unique ways, are just our attempts to understand the divine, to find some sense of order and meaning in the absolute chaos of the universe. So, what do you think? I'll leave you with that provocative thought to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.